Hello and welcome to the Coin Bureau. My name is Shane and today I'm delighted to be joined by Ilya Polosukin. He is the co-founder of NEAR Protocol and the CEO of the NEAR Foundation.
Thank you, great to be here.
Ilya, so many of our viewers know what NEAR is, layer 1 blockchain, but it's much more than that. So tell us, what sets NEAR apart from other blockchains?
So NEAR started with this idea that we want to bring kind of the open web, the Web3 to broad audience, to billions of users, right? And to achieve that, you need ease of use, you need developer experience that potentially millions of developers can build on, and you need to have infrastructure that can scale to that, right? And not just blockchain, but kind of all the layers of the infrastructure. And so we started as blockchain, we started building that part, but over time we kept expanding what we're building because you need to offer all of this, as well as the ecosystem itself was growing and there was lots of different pieces. And so what we end up kind of reframing this year is that NEAR is a blockchain operating system. It's a place where you can build experiences and applications for normal users who can onboard and really easily use this, not need to bother about installing kind of extensions, onboarding into crypto to start using applications. But at the same time, it actually can use applications across any blockchain, right? Not just NEAR protocol, not just NEAR layer 1, but also on other blockchains. And we facilitate that kind of transaction. We still have obviously our layer 1 that kind of powers a lot of the applications as well as the whole system, the identity, the data layer, but we kind of expanded our remit and kind of doing a lot more multi-chain kind of integrations, as well as building a lot more experiences and integrations with consumer apps to bring these applications to them. Right, so that's why we call it blockchain operating system. So very similar to traditional operating systems that are kind of connecting consumer to the developers who are building applications, such that the developers just publish their app and consumers can find and use that, and kind of all the mechanisms of all of that is kind of like abstracted away from both of them.
So I want to really narrow down the differences between NEAR and other layer 1 blockchains. First of all, you took inspiration from other people in the community when you were building NEAR. Which layer 1s did you focus on? Where did you get inspiration from? Who helped you?
Yeah, so we obviously started learning about Bitcoin and Ethereum. So maybe the background is we started actually wanting to use blockchain ourselves for our own application, being kind of on the developer founder side. It was like, oh, actually we need to pay people small amounts of money. They're all over the world. How do you do that? Oh, actually global payment network, which is what blockchain is. It would be very useful. And so we went and started researching Bitcoin and Ethereum, and this was 2018. And even at that time already, transaction fees were higher than what we were paying in microtransactions to people. Now, we obviously went and kind of studied everybody else who was building things at the time. And we actually did a whiteboard series with Solana, Cosmos, Polkadot, Ethereum itself, and a bunch of others. I think at this point 50 episodes, where we go in depth on how they're structured and how they work. And so, we took inspiration from everyone, and we, in constant communication, because at the end we're all trying to build kind of within the same vision, and it is open source technology that we kind of all sharing. And for us, obviously, kind of Ethereum, the original ideas on sharding, there's Polkadot, which does some for the data availability, erasure coding. There's ideas around Cosmos, around liquid staking and other things. And so now we've, for example, more formally working with Polygon on building technology together. It's not just kind of sharing in information space, but actually working on the same code, on the same platform that allows then this technology itself can be useful beyond NEAR or Polygon across the whole world as well. So I think that's kind of the spirit of the space, is actually working together. And that's, in general, why we're trying also to reframe away from just blockchain and like everybody's feeling like they're competing with everyone to, hey, this is one operating system. We're all connecting each other. We're connecting users to other applications on other blockchains. We're connecting with layer 2s now. We're offering data availability for layer 2. So we have all those things kind of interleaved and interconnected. And that's kind of how I believe open web is going to really get kind of traction, is not by us fighting for each other's corner, but actually working together and bringing this vision forward.
So Near is sometimes described as an Ethereum killer or a Solana killer. What do you say to that, or who do you think are your real competitors out there?
So we never wanted to kill anyone. This is like not in a killing business, in a building business. And so for us, like as I said, we worked with and talked with Ethereum folks starting when we just started. We went to every Ethereum hackathon, building stuff. Actually, my co-founder won ETH San Francisco in 2018 together with Lads and Fair on potential of how to do sharding in blockchain. Lads and Fair is like OG Ethereum developer, and so kind of generally speaking, we've always been like either talking together, working on some smaller projects, and now working on broader projects together. With Solana, we actually found the vulnerability before their mainnet and kind of explained it to them. They fixed it before mainnet, which allowed them to actually launch network that's secure. So we are not trying to kill anyone. Now there's kind of if you do really want to think about competition, the real competition is twofold. One is kind of a more traditional way of doing things, the Facebooks, the Googles, and where it's not because they're evil companies. I actually don't think I've worked at Google. It's not an evil companies itself, right? And people individually there are definitely not. They're actually trying to do the right thing, but the structure itself is leading to this kind of way that where you're trying to exploit as much value out of the data you have, exploit as much value out of the access you have, and in turn you start doing things that might that become challenging or where you need to start removing the don't be evil thing from your corporate. And at the same time, there's still a role for Google Cloud and Amazon for all these providers, so we're working with them as well. So it's not that we are purely competing with this, it's more the mindset. The mindset is we need to build a company that will capture all the data and build a business around it, versus let's build open source, let's create new value, let's empower users to have the control of their assets and data, have the way to participate in governance, and then from there, we have new applications, new marketplaces, new opportunities for everyone around the world to really participate. And so that's a mindset shift, and the competition there is, you could say banks are competitors because they're in the old mindset, and we are disrupting them in some way. But at the same time, you still need there's so much financial infrastructure, so you need to connect with them, you need to work with them. So everything is this competition.
Yeah.
And with other blockchains, there's competition as well. In some sense, we are, when projects deciding where to build, they can decide to build on Near layer 1, but then on the kind of this blockchain operation stack, system stacks, they can be building on Arbitrum or on Solana and be still surfaced in kind of broader blockchain operating system. So it's a constant competition across the space, and I think that's a benefit of this open source ecosystem, that we can be not kind of enemies, but actually can be friends and working together, but as well that pushes us to be better, to provide better value to founders, to developers, and to users.
Sorry to interrupt you folks, but I have to let you know about the Coin Bureau deals page. My team and I have been able to pull together some of the best promos and discounts in the whole crypto space. We're talking trading fee discounts of over 50%, thousands of dollars in bonus airdrops, amazing deals at top exchanges, reduced prices on hardware wallets, and much, much more besides. So just go to coinbureau.com/deals, also linked to below, and find the promo suited to you. Enjoy the rest of the video.
Previously, you worked at Google working on tools that led to AI. Is there part of you that with all this hype around AI is thinking, maybe I should have stuck with AI?
So, I mean, it's a good question. Obviously, when we were building stuff in 17, 18, this was when this technology just came out, right? I worked on transformers, it was the beginning of 17. And it wasn't clear that this is gonna transform the world, but I was actually believing that we'll see an exponential growth in AI applications. We just thought it's gonna happen in 17, 18, and we kind of betted on that. But we also gave ourselves a year, and at the same time we saw a clear need in the blockchain and it kind of infrastructure, and it was aligning well with what I believe the world should be structured. And like even back then, we were actually thinking how this is applicable to AI for everything from where we started, the crowdsourcing of data and paying people for acquiring data, to a more broader, AIs being able to participate actively as agents which have financial resources, are able to kind of request work or pay for work, and able to transact with others. And I think what we're now seeing is some of that coming together, right? Like now that the maturity of technology is there, I mean, obviously still a lot in progress and, a lot more demos but like we've seen now that you can use it in more kind of generic, practical way. And my belief why we started kind of Near AI originally was this new computing paradigm. And I think like we're starting to see it. What we're doing at Near is actually structuring everything we can in the ecosystem to be ready for that, right? So for example, the blockchain operating system, the front ends are designed in such a way that you can generate them with AI. And this is again original what we're starting with Near AI. So we kind of been thinking about that, like how do we make it easy? So the components, the front end components that you see if you don't go to Near.org, the whole website is served from the blockchain. Like there's no server that contains the website. It actually comes from the blockchain. And every piece of like interaction and experience is stored on chain. Now, you can train a model to generate those components. And even now already ChatGPT can generate some of the components. So you can actually really quickly develop applications in this new paradigm. And because you have blockchain services which are immutable, which you can guarantee the API on, you can actually generate kind of applications that can continue living and interacting with these APIs. So you have this new kind of framework that blockchain powers and allows to do new things. And it's, kind of now AI is actually becoming, like large language models and other pieces are becoming parts of that ecosystem. And so yesterday I was talking kind of an even broader vision is how do we bring AI to be at the center of the governance and coordination of the ecosystem, right? Because it's actually really hard. Like these ecosystems are, as they grow, they are complex. There's a lot of people, contexts get missing, and there's no central part, right? Like by definition. And so the information is, shared peer-to-peer. It's a gossip network, right? Like how do we coordinate this? And the interesting thing is with AI, we can actually do this because it can ingest all this context. It can provide a detailed information for each individual and contributor on what exactly they need to know. And based on their view, right, like, based on the context they have, based on the knowledge and the skills they have. And, as you kind of build up into this, you can have more and more decisions as well being made in more transparent, automated way, but kind of either with use of AI or even now based with AI, kind of becoming like the reinforcement learning agent that can act on this. And I think that is like the digital ecosystems will be the first ones to experiment with this, but we'll see this actually coming into the physical world as well, both on the governance side, on running businesses side, kind of becoming more and more. But you need blockchain to coordinate it, you need blockchain to keep them accountable, and you need blockchain to have a community to have a say when it's doing something wrong, because it will make some like mistakes naturally, and you need a way to like veto it, make sure that like it's authenticated, that it's not coerced by a developer who's running the service, etc. Like all of this need to be there, and that's what this decentralized open web infrastructure provides. So for me, AI is just part of this open web vision. It's an important part. It's a big tool, and we have already a bunch of teams in the ecosystem working on bringing some of these things together. And so I believe Near will be a kind of a powerhouse for AI. And we kind of been investing in some of these pieces, and both like on how to structure the data, startups and kind of companies that are working on this. We have Near Tasks, for example, that does like this crowdsourcing, the original idea. We're working with Ritual, which is decentralized inference. We have some kind of my co-founder been working, getting experience on fundamental model building. But like all those pieces are kind of starting a line to really kind of bring us to the next stage.
You mentioned a use case yesterday about AI preventing people from influencing voting systems, for instance. Could you talk a little bit more about that as a concrete example?
Yeah, so I mean the principle is it's more, in general, there's been always influence of voting, right? That's just like, that's called campaigning. But also misinformation, advertise, like all of those things, and like social media just kind of exploded that and propagates this, and algorithms are like created more divisive, right? But now with generative AI, it's so much easier to create like almost personalized manipulation letters, right, or personalized kind of advertisement that directs specific person's voting interests and says them that this candidate will specifically do that, right? Or the other way around, you can like generate fake kind of things and say, oh, you know, this other candidate is actually diametrically opposing the exact issue that you care about. And without being able to have provenance on this content, you're not able to actually identify if this is true or not, right? And especially in the context of like social media and other parts where it's not within a context or within any kind of framework which validates content. And so what we need is a way to have provenance of this. We need cryptographic signatures that say, I as a candidate signed this content. Also, this hash of this content is the same thing that everybody sees, right? You don't see the like generated just for you piece of content. And then you need to have kind of a chain of reputation of entities like that when, you know, this candidate is indeed this candidate, not somebody random, right, who's pretending to be them, which is like the normal Twitter game, right? So those are the pieces that needs to happen. So it's cryptography, but also you need a ledger where you are recording all this. You need all those pieces of infrastructure to do content management, to do kind of verification, to do information surfacing to the user. And so what NEAR actually built with blockchain operating system are pieces for that. We have kind of on-chain reputation system. We have on-chain identity that's very versatile that you can use in a lot of pieces. We have this decentralized front ends that in themselves are cryptographically like secure and have reputation, and then you can link content inside them. And we have actually one team that's going to be presenting at the hackathon here. They are integrating into existing websites. They can integrating components that can show the additional information about the content that's on the page, right? So you can have, like, as you're scrolling through Twitter, potentially, it can show you that, hey, this image was indeed cryptographically signed by New York Times. And, you can click on New York Times and you can see New York Times itself was signed by somebody else. And by the way, they also published all this other stuff. So you can kind of explore the information graph. Like, for that, you need all this technology. You cannot do this with centralized servers because you don't have this. You'll need to build pretty much the centralized servers. Like, you'll need to trust somebody, then they'll get hacked and broken, and then you will not be able to get everybody to agree on this because US is now authenticated, government authenticating this websites, but Russia authenticating this websites. It's now it's becoming who's responsible for what. So that's kind of why, blockchain is a really important piece of this, cryptography, but also kind of the middleware that actually connecting this. And so what we're missing right now is really adoption by media companies, by social media, by all this. But they're interested. They're in need of this because they know as well that right now they pulling images. They don't even know if they're real or not. So they need this provenance. And so huge need. I think we have the pieces. Now somebody needs to build this use case on top. So I'm inviting all the developers and founders to build this. Yeah, there's huge opportunity to do this.
I should also mention that we're at NEARCON, the flagship event of the NEAR protocol. And I was just wondering what for you has been the big takeaway of these last few days? And what would you like people to know about it?
Yeah, so I think the main takeaway I want everybody to take is NEAR is the entry point to Web3, to open web. We are, not just layer one, but kind of blockchain operating system that has layer one, but also data stack, indexed layer, decentralized front ends and application layer. We are, we had the top 2 consumer apps in Web3 built on NEAR as well, kind of surfacing this a number of games, a number of other startups, kind of versatile ecosystem. And so, I'm excited to see, people both kind of continue building and integrating NEAR, but also, from the hackathon already seeing people experimenting with AI, experimenting with, how can we leverage these bots components to surface them in other pages, doing all this experimentation and innovation that then can be taken on by next set of founders and kind of creating new companies. And so for me, as well, as exciting to see how we are starting to work more with across ecosystems, right? We have people from Polygon here, founder of Polygon was here. We have people from Cosmos ecosystem. We had people from kind of other ecosystems as well coming, and so it's really working together instead of being in this kind of maximalist tribes. But Yeah, so that's my kind of I don't know, takeaway is like, work together, build this together, and we're gonna bring, like we're bringing already kind of the adoption to Web3, one kind of million users at a time.
Speaking of your collaboration with Polygon, can you tell us more about that and what excites you about zero-knowledge proofs?
So for me, zero-knowledge proofs is kind of next leap in the technology. We were looking at them back in the day. We decided not to invest in them because they were not yet at a scale that you would need to actually work. But now, through work of Polygon, Jordi, Kermes's team, Brandon and Daniel on their team, they have done an amazing job scaling this, making it really kind of way closer to something that you can use in production, and like they've proven it while launching ZKVM, so kind of really experts there. And so really excited to work with them on this. And on our side, we kind of see this as, in a way, ultimate scalability technology as well as ultimate probable compute technology, right? So, we talked about machine learning. Well, if you have mission critical AI models that are like used in mission critical applications or managing money, you don't want this to be run by some server that is operated by somebody, right? You want to make sure that the model you run, the results you have are indeed verified and proven. And ZK is a way to, for example, enable that. So we need to continue scaling. But at the same time, we have, IoT devices everywhere, right? They're actually running already WebAssembly, the same virtual machine we run on blockchain. And so they can actually prove the computation they're doing and then post it on chain or aggregate. And so we can have approvable compute, not just on blockchain, but kind of available globally, and have more and more of the systems kind of provably interacting with each other, trustlessly interacting with each other. And this is the vision of Open Web, was like enabling that trustless interaction, not just the blockchain, right? But for us, this also enables, way higher scalability for Near itself, for Near blockchain, as well as decentralizing more, because now we can have millions of nodes potentially verifying just the ZK proof instead of needing to re-execute every transaction. And so that kind of for us is extremely powerful, and then as well as allows to integrate more with Ethereum and kind of broader L2 ecosystem. We in turn offering data availability for layer 2s kind of across the board. With Polygon CDK, with Optimism, with Starkware, Stack, etc. To really open up as well kind of and reduce transaction fees 8,000 times cheaper than Ethereum for data availability. So transaction fees on layer 2s that use Near for DA will be 8,000 times cheaper. So this is kind of how like this whole ecosystem working together, making it really possible for mass adoption, right? That's what needs to happen. And so really excited to see this kind of coming together and announcing it here. And yeah, I'm excited kind of for next steps of this evolution.
Ilya, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's been at the end of a very hectic conference, but congratulations, very successful, and look forward to seeing what lies ahead for Near.
Thank you. Thank you for great questions.
Great to meet you.